break, and after news, indeed, we will be turning to athletics, and we have a whole hour of athletics and plenty of time to talk about that after the break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, Mondays from 6 to 8 p.m.
Now you're back on Terrace Talk, Donald Barry, which is 8 o'clock this evening. Now the first hours was all Kerry versus Mayo. I think we're fairly drained, we're fairly flat. We try to get the negativity out of it, so certainly we're turning to a bit of positive news now, and for the next hour or so we'll be chatting athletics, and of course, you know, listeners to the show, I suppose, over the last number of months will know every now and again we check in with the athletics, and I suppose we're keeping an eye on them. We're trying to, I suppose, find new athletes and new champions, and I suppose we're trying to unearth new ones and maybe talk about old ones as well. That's certainly what we'll be doing. I'm delighted to be joined in studio by Tomás Griffin and Martin Fitzgerald, and of course Martin, the poor man, is the chairman of the Kerry Athletics County Board, and delighted to have him with me. Martin, you just live around the corner anyway, so it wasn't a big journey. You didn't have to run here.
It wasn't too far, just 3 miles up the road, and I got down here fairly
quick. Oh my God, 3,000 metres kind of.
That's it, yeah. I didn't run now or anything.
No, and it wasn't a steeplechase either, so you didn't have to jump over anything to get here. Come here, Martin, we're looking at athletics over, I suppose, I said the last year, but obviously we're keeping an eye on Terrace Talk athletics for much longer than that. The sport seems to have professionalised an awful lot. I mean, I have to admit that I would have known less, only for the fact that my young fella now is getting involved in running, and we're going to all these meets and all these championships and the whole lot. But the level of professionalism and the amount of volunteers that you need, and you held a number of, I suppose, successful kind of championships in Unreak there over the last number of weeks. I mean, you got the sun out there at the bank holiday weekend, however you managed that was fantastic. As chairman of a board of so many volunteers, that must be desperately pleasing.
Well, it is. I mean, to run the Juvenile County Championships, there were 650 athletes entered, and you need 40 officials. That which is extraordinary. Now, if you think of a football match, a rugby match, soccer match, you need maybe 6, 7, 8 people, but you need 40 officials just to, and then you have to have, at all the technical events in every event, you have to have at least one official who is proficient, who's technically knowledgeable, and it's a big ask, but we do manage to do it. We get fantastic help from the clubs to run it, but it is a huge undertaking. I mean, in Kerry we run the competition, just not boasting, but it's true, to the same standard as the Munster competitions and the national competitions, to the extent, I suppose, now that as this year, because we use the meet manager system, the IAF recognise our results, and our results are now put up on the International Athletics with the International Federation.
Yeah, that's amazing. I suppose to listeners, the meet management system, it's a timing system basically, officially.
It's a timing system and a recording system, and for results, and it's a specific way that you do results electronically, technically, and unless you have that system, it won't be recognised. They won't put up the results.
Yeah. So in old-fashioned talk, I could run out in Castle Island and run a world record time in Castle Island, and if it was timed, it'll be, well, so it's recorded officially somewhere along the way, and it's picked up.
It would be, it could be recorded. Now, in order to do that, we're still going to have to move up another step and get kind of recognition for to have the meeting put as a specific category. The fact that it's recorded wouldn't mean that you can do that, but we have all the systems in place. We have, for instance, electronic timing. We have wind gauges, which is what you require now. As of now, we say anybody who qualifies for the European Olympics, under 18 Olympics, they can qualify as our competition this year. They were able to qualify if they want to, because the system is recognised for that.
I suppose it's gas. I mean, people that wouldn't know, but I mean, that's a massive achievement in itself. I mean, the recognition of what you're doing, but you're also enabling young athletes to get the chance to qualify in their own backyard, basically, for European championships and even bigger events.
You are, yeah, you're giving them that opportunity, and it's fantastic, but it has taken time. I mean, we're one of the few counties in the country probably that do it. Cork would do it to a certain extent. I don't think that they have got the IAF recognition yet, but we have that. Dublin probably would do it. Most of the counties don't do it. They don't do it to the same extent. We're very lucky, that we have highly qualified technical people in the county who are able to help us with that. I mean, you have the timing. All our entries are done online. and competition book that is produced by Fitzgerald, our competition secretary. Everything is printed. The sheets are printed. The names are printed on the sheets. You don't have to do any writing. Everything is ready to go on the day. But it does take an awful lot of time. And you're talking about volunteers, and that's we all are. Everybody there is a volunteer, and they're given free of their time. But it is this, particularly organising the championships, it's a huge commitment. And, it's great credit to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Martin, when you're talking about, I suppose, volunteers, I mean, it's not some guy turns up on the day with a jacket and you put him in the corner and he gets some measuring tape and out he goes and he does the best he can to see who landed in the sand the furthest away or whatever. All these are highly trained as well.
Well, you would have to have at least one highly trained official at every one of the high jump, long jump, throws and all that kind of thing to make sure that everything was doing. Probably two, and then you would have there'd be a field referee and the track referee who would come to verify if there was any record done or any record broken, or if there was a qualification mark reached. You have to have that. You have to have these. We have quite a few of our officials now have been trained and qualified. You have, for instance, we have two people recently qualified as starters. I mean, everybody thinks it means putting a gun there. No, it doesn't mean.
Right, okay.
Because you have to start before you start the race. You have to have. You have to fire the gun as it is at the moment to make sure that it's synchronised with the timing equipment at the top.
Okay.
So you have to know what you're doing. It's not as simple as just saying, "On you mark the set and then the gun off," because if that doesn't work.
Yeah. And we'll say when people tune in and watch the Olympics, we'll say the 100 metres and they'll see the starter and the guy walks across and something false starts and he gives the yellow card or the green card. I might be wrong with the colours now, but you get a warning or you might be thrown out straight away. All this is replicated here as well.
Well, it would be regulated. You're obviously not as strict as that on juveniles, but it is. At senior competition, whoever going to senior competitions, that's exactly what happens. If there's a false start and somebody's, they get a red card and they're gone. Now, if they just move the clocks or if something like that happens, it's up to the start on the officials who they're at the start to decide that. But a red card is if you break, it's a red card. There's no going back and that's it.
Not on that day anyway.
That's exactly the same as it's exactly the same as the Olympics. Now for juveniles, it's slightly different. You have to be.
Do you find, Martin, by setting this in place, you're getting Kerry juveniles, I suppose, in particular, and of course we're talking about Kerry Athletics and Kerry seniors, the whole lot, into their frame of mind that they're competitive from the minute they go in here, and I mean you're replicating the whole Olympics, for example, and that kind of steadies them to go forward as well.
Well, it is, yeah. But you see, what we're doing, I suppose, really is we're preparing them for their provincial competitions that they're competing. The way the championships are organised is that everybody gets an opportunity to compete in their own event, either at their own age or the age above them. That's the. If you were to do it exactly the same as the Munster national competitions, you'd be talking about 4 or 5 days to do the whole lot, but which you can't do because we have. I suppose there's a problem with. I won't say it's a problem, but there's so many national and Munster competitions that we've only got so many days that we can actually have a competition here. We have to have our competitions, particularly the juvenile competitions, have to be over by the middle of May, or because you have the schools competitions. They're on schools competitions, then followed by the ordinary Munster competition. So you were very limited in time, which is maybe something that. Mm-hmm.
There just isn't enough dates in the calendar, I suppose. Is that
that's the problem? The dates, the calendar is very full, and probably needs to be looked at to see what can you do. Because from a personal point of view, and I suppose my own thinking on it, you need. I don't like to see all competition finished before the schools close. Mm-hmm.
It's a very short season, then, isn't it?
And I think I suppose my view on that is that we should have more And we local sports, and we had recently in Rio, 3 clubs got together and they had a triangular meeting, and those kind of things are successful as well.
And they were hugely exciting as well, actually, weren't they? Clubs coming together, competing for points and the whole lot. It brought a bit of razzmatazz to the whole thing.
It does, and not everybody. People can get disheartened as well if they don't qualify for Munster competitions and national competitions. It's quite difficult to win a Munster medal, let alone win a national medal. It's individual sports quite difficult, and you never know with the way children develop and all that kind of thing. Somebody mightn't be very good just when they're 12 years of age, but they could improve hugely by the time they're 17. I think probably you have a situation where people are discouraged because they're not doing very well, and you're losing people, and that probably happens in all sports. You just don't. There is probably too much emphasis on maybe very young competition and not enough kind of local, smaller competitions to make sure that these people stay in the sport and that you have them for the future.
Martin, how did you get involved? When did you get involved? Were you running school sports as well back in the day?
I got involved. I started running and competing myself in 1968.
Right, okay.
As I was saying to you earlier before we're talking, I attended my first county board meeting in 1972.
Oh my God.
BLE county board meeting, so I've been involved for quite a long time, so...
what drew you into the sport? I mean, obviously there's football and hurling and everything going on around Tralee and handball and whatever kind of sport.
Well, but I actually when I went to secondary school, it was in Closhies, gone Ballyvourney, and I couldn't play football for months. I was found out that I was able to run fast, so that's how I got involved in an athletic club there, and
And it's kind of a sport that I suppose in many ways you're on your own, but I presume there's a social group. The isolation isn't always there as such. I mean, you're obviously meeting people at racing events and you're probably training with other people and the whole lot. So there is that social side to it.
Well, there is a social side to it, and you meet people, but it is an individual sport, and I suppose to that extent people can become a bit disheartened because, if you're the 11th or the 12th best soccer player in Kerry, you can be on the team, but if you're the 12th best person at 100 metres...
Right, okay, there's no room to track for you.
It's kind of far more apparent. It's far more apparent in athletics, or even in something like, we'll say, handball as well. If you take something like that, you can't... There's no room for, I suppose, delusion or thinking. But again, the fact that people aren't winning doesn't mean that... I always quote the example of Paula Radcliffe in England. Paula Radcliffe never won a juvenile or underage medal of any sort, and yet she broke the world record in the marathon.
Turned into one of the finest. And come here, of course, apart from yourself, I suppose you've got your own family involvement as well. You watch another generation of people competing at the lines.
Yes, we do. My own daughter has been involved, all right. And
go on, give her a proper plug. Involved. My God almighty, she's sitting at home side counting all her national titles, and you just said she's just involved.
Well, I suppose, yes, she did win.
Go on.
15 Ireland medals, which is there's only 2 people since 1872.
That's more than most Kerry footballers have, 15 All-Ireland medals, and I mean it's national as well, isn't it?
National medals. There's only 2 people that ever in Kerry did it since 1872. That was Tom O'Riordan and herself.
My God.
More than 14 All-Ireland medals.
And if you're in Tom O'Riordan company, you're up there.
They were the only 2 from Kerry that go back to the records, go back to 1872. So.
My God.
Yeah.
Jesus. And what did you win?
I stood for 400 metre runners, and one thing, and I county championships.
Yeah. And of course, like Kerry had a golden age as well. I mean, we obviously look at, I remember Jerry Kiernan, of course, and I mean, but were they huge icons, I suppose, of the sport growing up through the 70s and the 80s, the 90s, knowing that these people were flying a Kerry flag for us as well?
They would have been, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, Jerry, I knew Jerry when I was in Kerry competing. Jerry was in the Stole Club, competing with the Stole Club. There would be, but I suppose everybody kind of associates it with the people getting to the Olympics, getting to these. But there may be sometimes too much emphasis on that. There's a lot of fun to be had too in athletics, and you find as well that people they're not doing athletics, they go and do team sports. But then what happens is you go working and you find they don't have the time for training, and then an awful lot of people, you're doing masters running and they're start running in their 20s, and then they're registering. You have that happens as well. And I mean, some people have become qualified for World Championships, and particularly in the distance races as well, because they've started running in later life. It's just not as demanding as attending a team training. You can go and
work away on your own.
And you can. I mean, you can go out and run the road after you finish work at night. You don't have to be training for 7 o'clock with a group. So, and I think that's so. And then there's good camaraderie between the distance runners and that kind of thing as well, because they do tend to run in groups. And
of course, speaking of running, you're running often us.
Yeah.
My God Almighty, I thought we were going to settle in for the night, but I knew you're a busy man.
I have an athletics meeting to attend.
Come here. Well, if you're there since 1972 attending, you can't miss one this evening anyway. Listen, Martin, thanks very much for the great work that's going on. I mean, the chairman of anything these days, or chairperson of anything these days, it takes an awful work. As you said, you have loads of officials and volunteers and helpers and the whole lot. And of course, after the break, we'll talk to Tomás Griffin on some of that, maybe some of the results as well. And I suppose we'll look at a couple more. We have something very, very good as well. If you remember the late Wishy Fogarty, well, the late Wishy went off discovering Eamonn Fitzgerald, not the football Eamonn Fitzgerald now, but the long jumper from South Kerry. Should I say triple jumper, maybe rather than long jumper. He'd hop, step and jump as well back in time. So we'll talk a bit about that. Martin, thanks very much, and the very best to look for the year ahead. There's plenty of athletics, of course, to get down to, and God Almighty, you're the father of a very modest champion as well.
Thanks very much.
No problem, we'll take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with Meadowlands Hotel Tralee, where being local means coming home.
Now a section that I absolutely, I suppose I'm getting to enjoy really, because I'm getting to know more of the names and know more of the characters involved. But Tomás Griffin joins us, and we're continuing on with athletics, of course, but we're going to focus a little bit back on some of the results. I suppose it's the part where you get to hear the names and how they're getting on, of course. And it was a very busy season. I mean, the Irish University Outdoor Track and Field Championships were on, the County Championships were on, the Munster College Championships were on, the National Indoor Juvenile Championships and relays on. My God, there seems to be something on all the time, and with plenty of Kerry involvement.
Absolutely, yeah, Donal, it's been pretty hectic. The last time we were on the show was the 20th of March, I think. We ended that show with me referencing the event that was about to happen literally the weekend after the 20th, which was the National Juvenile Indoor Championships in Athlone. So again, a fantastic stadium in Athlone. As a country, we're not wanting for facilities. They're really starting to grow and blossom, and hopefully more facilities across Kerry as well. It'd be great if we had an athletics track, maybe with a roof on it somewhere in Kerry.
A real indoor one, yeah.
A real indoor track would be absolutely fantastic. But again, facilities in every corner of Kerry would be great. Martin mentioned, for instance, the championships and the logistics there in the first section. You were chatting to him, and we're blessed to have a facility like Riocht to be able to be an IAAF certified track. So to be able to go to Athlone then during the winter time and have our athletes competing on the indoor circuit is fantastic. I spoke about relay teams at the time, and I predicted that there was...
You made a very bold prediction.
I did. I put it out there.
You didn't go for all three, but I think you went for two.
I said 2 out of the 3 relay teams that were qualified through to the National Juveniles had a really good chance of taking a medal, and then the other team that unfortunately didn't take a medal were very, very close to getting there, and really a team on the rise. So who was the first team? Farnfore Main Valley under 15 boys relay team. Isaac Vickers, Ryan Vickers, Conor McCarthy, Kevin O'Shea. They made it through the rounds, having already qualified from Munsters. They made it to Nationals. Lots of teams participating at under 15 level, so they had heats, semi-final, final to get through over that weekend. So massive commitment from the parents and coaches. In fairness to them, they took the gold medal. They won. They ran 1 minute 53.50 for a 4x200. So that's like 100 seconds. They're doing a half mile. So that is really, really
fast. Fair slipping, yeah.
And they're beating teams that are from the really big clubs as well, so that's something to be very proud of. The Killarney Valley AC under 19 relay team came in second, took the silver medal, and those guys went up there to win. They went up there to attempt to break a national record that has stood from Tala AC when Israel Olatunde was on that team.
Oh, wow.
That everybody has heard about now, Ireland's national record holder in 100 metres. So Tala AC held the record. It has stood for a number of years, so really it came down to 2 teams that were capable of breaking that record. Rathote AC, which is a huge club in County Meath, and the Killarney guys. So the Killarney team were second. They were just pipped. The Rathote team did break the national record. So it took a national record to beat the Kerry under-19s. At that level, at that age, when you're still in the sport, you're serious. You are really, really good. The team was Cian O'Brien, Ty Galvin, Jason O'Reilly and Oisin Lynch. So 2 international athletes on that team, and others probably capable of knocking on the door of international.
And that's the standard you need to break these records on. You need to have people at international or national standard.
Absolutely, yeah. And what's gas, I mean, all this stuff is live streamed, so people at home watching it. There was a lot of people tuned in to both the Farn 4 one, the Killarney one, and also the Listowel girls team as well, under 17 team. They finished 5th in the final, having made it through the rounds also. What's gas, the people that were chatting to the various coaches afterwards and critiquing the changeovers. So the 4x200, the indoor relay, is known as the demolition derby of athletics. That's why.
Okay.
So
we're running into each other.
Yeah, so you break lanes after the first lap. It is full speed. The changeovers aren't as clinical as a 4x100 where people stay in lanes and they try and exchange the baton at full tilt. You still try and exchange the baton at full speed, but you've got traffic because everybody's broke lanes. You could run into the person that was the inbound runner and, you know, has still stayed on the track. If you're in second place, the person that is ahead of you, you could run into them. So it's a very interesting race, and hopefully something that other teams across Kerry can really start targeting, I think, because we're very, very strong in sprints in Kerry. Lots of great work being done. I mentioned those girls from Listowel, the under-17 team that were 5th, so really some superb female sprinters coming out of Listowel that we've spoken about previously. Saoirse Dillon, Molly O'Riordan, Emma Nealon, Tally Collins. So for a club out of Kerry to be putting together girls, where, again, there's a lot of talk about retaining girls in sport, for them to be competing at the top level, and again, they're against teams like Leavale, Dundrum, South Dublin, and holding their own. I'm sure if those girls stay at it, and I think they will, seeing a lot of them already this season in the summertime, then they'll be taking medals on a national level in 4x1s, 4x2s, 4x4s. So relays is the way to go for, I think, retention in the sport, and it brings the team aspect into an individual sport. And Martin spoke about, again, the individualism and how that can be a challenge as well.
Is it difficult though to get 4 to run similar times, because obviously 4x200, one person is going to run it on his own? I mean, how do they get to the same standard? That's just train. It's difficult to unearth them. Yeah,
it's like, so the relay teams, those 4x200s would have been made up of a mixture of short sprinters, long sprinters, maybe a little bit of middle distance as well. An 800 metre runner can drop to 200 and run a very good 200. Long jumpers and even triple jumpers, we're going to talk about that later on. So any of the power events, and then your middle distance runners that'll still be kind of quasi sprinters, can drop down. So clubs can manufacture relay teams, and that's the challenge. So
there's a wide enough net if you're smart enough. A 400 and a 100 can meet in the middle. And
absolutely, yeah. So just to give you an example, the under-19 team, where there was an analysis of the other team, Rathaute, how could they be beaten? So Rathaute would have had a sub 11 second 100 metre guy. Jesse Eustace is his name. He did the European Youth Olympics last year with Jason O'Reilly, so really, really good. We thought that he would be tired after the heats, and being a short sprinter wouldn't be able to survive another round. He did tire, but not enough for us to get them, so that's the level that it goes to. There was lots of other stuff happening over those couple of weekends as well. Obviously the individual competitions, so national champions out of Kerry in those juvenile national indoor championships. Jason O'Reilly, we mentioned already, from Killarney Valley, he won the under-18 400 metres, so national champion. Oisin Lynch, Killarney Valley, won the under-18 800 metres. On Oisin, he's after running the qualification standard literally last weekend for the European Youth Olympics. He ran 1:52.40 for 800 metres. He is 16 years old, turning 17. So that is phenomenal. Kieran Keane from Riocht, under 16. He's a shot put thrower. This guy is breaking records for fun at the moment. He broke a 44-year-old Munster Schools junior shot put record last Saturday through the 4kg shot 15 metres. So if he can continue in that trajectory and start developing physically more in the technique and all the things that are involved in a very technical, then who knows where he can go. So they're 3 national champions. There were silver medalists. Ryan Vickers, we mentioned him already, under 14 800 metres. He ran 2 minutes 10 for 800 metres. He's under 14. Like, I don't think anybody off the Kerry senior football team could run 2:15 for 800 metres. This guy's running 2:10. He's that age, under 14.
I've seen himself and his brother run the Clarny Park run,
yeah.
and these boys can run.
They can run, yeah. Bronze medalists, yeah. We had Cian O'Brien, Killarney Valley, under 18, 200 metres. He took a bronze medal, again, surrounded by guys from the big population, right? There was Dublin guys on the podium. 23.23 he ran. He ran 22.61 last Saturday over in Riok, so he's getting faster and faster. Kieran Maloney, also from Killarney, under 13 shot put. New to the sport, really developing, and he's being pushed on by his brother Finn, who's also new to the sport as well. But also throws, I think, is something that we can really develop in Kerry. A great history, like you heard from Martin and his daughter Claire. We're not taking enough medals in throws, so we need to maybe take a look at that and see how much more we can do, because there's definitely the talent out there.
And an Olympic throw medal is the same as an Olympic 100 metre medal too, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's throws, jumps, the technicalities involved in all of that is so, you know.
Are they difficult sports to get involved in? I mean, clubs cater for them, but I mean, I won't say do they shine the love on them at the start, but I mean, when a guy comes through the door or a girl comes through the door, that the club kind of know that, well, look, they're not an 800 metre runner, but this is something that they're able to do, and you channel that.
Good, yeah, really good, really fantastic question. So I can give you a live example. The club I'm involved with, we were contacted recently on social media from an athlete who expressed an interest in being involved. Never done organised athletics, 18 years old. So it was interesting to get the message from him. We tested him scientifically to see, are you explosive? Are you more a distance guy? But he had a lot of explosiveness. In 2 months, he's been trained in high jump. He won the Munster Schools high jump. Bartek Ziklinski is his name, from Killorglin. He won the Munster Schools senior high jump title after 2 months training. The attributes that he had when we scientifically tested him and from conversation with him demonstrated he was explosive from a physical point of view. So again, to channel that. So again, talent is everywhere. Channeling it into the clubs to the right coaches can help people that come to the sport at any particular stage. Those championships, let's not forget the people that were fourth. It's the toughest place to come in athletics, and I think Martin said it, that you could be the 15th best footballer in the county and you're still on the team. You know, if you're the 15th best athlete, you're nowhere. So there was people that were fourth in the national championships. So Sophie O'Flaherty, she's a young high jumper from Listowel, fourth. If she stays in the sport, you never know. Nicole Walker react fourth in the under 19 60 metres. Saoirse Dillon, we mentioned her, fourth in the 60 and 200. Molly O'Riordan from Listowel, fourth in the 400. She's recently run 60 seconds for 400 metres. That is really good. She's in the senior rankings at the moment. So again, talent. Eamonn O'Driscoll, a really good under 13 athlete. She was fourth. She's from St Brendan's SE. She was fourth in long jump. Tally Collins, who we mentioned, and Eamonn O'Driscoll again, both fifth. Again, having made it through the rounds in their events, which are technical events, hurdles and a long jump and triple jump. So, you know, if they stay at it, the story that Martin told, for instance, of Paula Radcliffe never having medalled, and all of a sudden she's a world record holder because she stuck and she persisted. So that's where the challenge is in the sport, is letting people know that, yeah, disappointment is all around you, but if you persist and you perfect the craft and you're in the right environment, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Sonia Sullivan one time, somebody saying fourth, and they said it's the worst place in the world, she said it wasn't. Fifth was worse than fourth, she says. So fourth was quite good. We'll take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with Meadowlands Hotel Tralee, where being local means coming home.
Hey, very welcome back to Terrace Talk. Now, first of all, a notice from Uisce Éireann and Kerry County Council, and if you're out in Barleymount, listen up. There will be overnight restrictions to water supply in the following areas: 2 Mile School, Doe, Barleymount, Feha and parts of Ballyhar and Milltown. And Uisce Éireann and Kerry County Council appreciate your patience in this matter. All places I know very well out there on that kind of East Kerry side of it, heading back into Mid Kerry. We're joined by Tomás Griffin, of course. We're kind of wrapping up a section, I suppose, of results, but plenty of international results as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So before we jump onto the international, the Irish University Championships were on. There was a number of Kerry athletes performed very, very well in that. So it was held in the Dundrum South Dublin new track, which is a fantastic facility, again built. Sarah Leahy, who our listeners have heard about several times, she won the ladies 100 metres in 11.95. The distance events, we're starting to get some talent here as well. Shona O'Brien, she's operating out of Cork, runs for Cork Track Club, UCC she was representing. She won the 1500 metres, 4 minutes 41. Shona's originally from Killarney. Ciara Kennelly, representing DCU in the high jump. She was the captain of the ladies team who won the overall cup, 1 metre 69 in the high jump. She was second. And Luke O'Carroll, a Tralee man with Tralee Harriers representing UL, long jump 6 metres 81, back from injury. So measure that out in your sitting room there, folks, 6 metres 81, and see how far he's jumping.
Bigger than the kitchen counter anyway.
Incredible, yeah. So he's been way over 7 metres, so he's bouncing back from injury. Aaron Malik, who is an athlete that is from previously St Brendan's AC. He's with Nina AC now, but he was representing UL. He took 2 medals, one in the pole vault, bronze medal, so a Kerry pole vaulter, which is an incredible event. He also did the multi-events, the pentathlon, which is 110 metre hurdles, long jump, high jump, shot, 1500. He took the bronze medal in that, so you got to be an all-rounder to do that sort of stuff. So great result from Aaron. On the international stuff, yeah, so we've mentioned previously like how athletics is a very international sport. So we had athletes competing on 3 continents in April and May from Kerry. Right, so it's incredible. So down the south in New Zealand, we've mentioned her previously. We had Bridget Dennehy, right? So she won the inaugural Road Mile Championships in New Zealand, and she did that beating a Tokyo Olympian. She did that beating the track champion. So that's no mean feat. So she's down from your neck of the woods.
Right, yeah, just out the road in Renard side. Yeah, it's fantastic. I remember Bridget playing football for Southern Gales and the whole lot. But it just goes to show that you can compete no matter where you go. So
a transportable sport. So just to reference that again, the Kerry Championships that Martin was talking about, I was officiating on the long jump, and officiating on the long jump with me was Sylvan, who was from Mauritius. We had Stanislav from Croatia, and we had Yuroslav, who was from Ukraine. So all those people spoke the common language of track and field athletics.
Isn't that amazing?
So, you know, what an international sport it is.
Yeah. And of course, talking about Bridget Dennehy, I just have to bring in there about the late Patrick O'Shea, of course. I grew up in Carsby at a time where athletics was well known for certain people, and you know, people played their football and people done their dancing, the whole lot. But Patrick O'Shea passed there, I suppose poor man, he's probably gone a couple of months now at this stage, but fantastic runner, very understated, very modest. A lot of people kind of recognise him maybe from, I suppose, when he became kind of veteran stage as such, but he was doing it forever. I mean, I remember tales of him going to Moscow and winning championships in Portugal and the whole lot, and this is back in the 80s, like, I mean, when I suppose athletics was really in a black and white world, and I suppose a lot of people and a lot of friends out there probably recognise the name and remember that this evening, and it's great to see Bridget Dennehy, of course, Steve, flag still waving out there as well.
Absolutely. So 2 great Ivra athletes you're mentioning there. So yeah, Patrick, 2 hours 30 minutes for the marathon. And he did it several times, so absolutely incredible for somebody that came late to the sport as well. So really, really great to acknowledge that. Other international athletes, Oisin Murray from Onriach ran in Watford in London, and he set a new PB in the 3,000 metres. He was third in the Watford Open, 8 minutes 30 for 3,000 metres. Killian Griffin from Tralee Harriers competed in the Loughborough International, April 29th. 100 metres, he ran 10.82. So he's a 10.64 100 metre guy. So again, that is phenomenal to have that talent out of Kerry. Sarah Leahy, who we've mentioned, she ran in an international track meet in Lisbon. She ran 11.74 mids. She was 6th in the final up against top class talent. Ciara Kennelly competed in France, now experimenting with the long jump. So she won a competition in France in the long jump, jumped 5 metres 48. So we're going to watch and see what evolves there with that. A very interesting lady then. We're talking about another continent, Daytona, Florida. Sounds like a really attractive place to be. Aoife O'Mahony from Listowel AC. She's on scholarship in West Palm Beach, Florida. She's been out there now for 5 years. She ran a new PB in the 1,500 metres, ran 4:37. That would have won her the Irish University Championships. I think she's due home. Her scholarship time is finished out there. She also ran 2:18 in the 800 metres as well in Daytona, Florida. So I mean, that's so many athletes from Kerry kind of bouncing all over the world, which is great. Niamh O'Mahony, who we've interviewed on the show here before, Niamh out of Providence, Rhode Island University, was running in the Big East Track and Field Championships representing the university. 10,000 metres on the track, 37.10. So again, lots of people that are running recreational 10Ks. 37.10 this lady's running on the track. She also ran the 3,000 metres in Pennsylvania in the Spring Classic, and she ran 10.19 for that event. So again, fantastic to see that happening. And again, she'll be home for the summertime and will be competing in the Riocht colours in various events across the country. So lots of clubs with lots of talent. On the good news front, Shona Heaslip has been selected for the European team 10,000 metres, which is due to be held in France on June the 3rd. She's returning from injury. Last wore the Irish Fest in the same event in 2018. So now to have her back.
It's been a while since she's been running. I mean, I remember her, she beat Finola Britain. She beat Finola Britain in that event, or maybe she's stepped out and she won the national championships, and there was high hopes. But injury is something that kind of really affects an athlete as well, and it takes a bit of time to get back.
Absolutely. Like, the intensity of the training that any of these athletes have to do, regardless of the event, of course takes a toll. Doing all the strength and conditioning, doing your prehab, and then being clinical on your rehab if something happens. You know, it can be lonely, and that's again the importance of a team and having, you know, a coach that's, you know, nurturing you, but also a team of people that are going through the same challenges. Club Athletics in Kerry is managing to do that now, which is great to see. But all these international athletes, I mean, they're hopefully getting a lot of support at an international level as well, then from Sport Ireland and other places. David Kenny team race walking championships were literally just on this weekend as well. So the Irish team were 7th in the team championship.
I seen that, but his individual performance was quite good.
Yeah, he was the top finishing Irish guy. He did 1 minute 24 for the 20k walk, which is one of his fastest times ever. Not his fastest, but he's certainly trending towards really performing well. World Championships on the horizon in Budapest in Hungary. So he's already bagged the qualification standard for that. He had that ages ago. So he will be one of the people representing Ireland in the World Championships, with maybe some others from Kerry fighting for places on relay teams and maybe some individual stuff as well. So again, we're really on the map here.
Well, he'll have no water tonight because he lives out there in the Barlymount direction here, but he has everything else going for him. Come here, is that it on the international front? Have we any more?
That's it, yeah, on the international front. So things pending, like you're going to have Munster Championships kicking off, National Championships kicking off, then loads of athletes fighting for qualification standards. So we mentioned Oisin Lynch from Killarney Valley. He hit 1:52.40 for 800 metres. He's bagged the qualification standard for the European Youth Olympics. That doesn't mean he will be picked. If somebody else runs faster, then it's a pretty ruthless game, but he's already bagged a very fast time. They're only going to send one athlete in each event, and the maximum team going is 24. Jason O'Reilly is chasing qualification standard as well. There's a bunch of Irish athletes going to be competing in Belgium this weekend, including those two I've just mentioned, and Sarah Leahy, and some of the others as well. I think Luke O'Carroll is out there that we've mentioned. I think Killian Griffin might be there as well, chasing standards. So incredible.
Absolutely, fair play. Come here, after the break we'll take a quick look at the history of some of the cups there. I mean, there's cups going around there with a lot of years, and there's great names on them. And the Quill Cup, of course, and the Chris O'Shea Memorial, and of course the Eamonn Fitzgerald triple jump shield sitting here in front of it. That would have been very prominent for the late Wishy Fogarty, because a couple of years ago, the late Wishy Fogarty was cycling around the Ring of Kerry. I think he was participating in the Ring of Kerry itself, and he took a little bit of a break in Castle Cove. I suppose he was probably waiting for the bus to drive him to Snee maybe, or something like that, you never know. But off he went into the Black Shop, which is the small village shop there as well, and he spotted this sign for Eamonn Fitzgerald, and he got kind of, wishy, I suppose, and asking questions and all that, and he unearthed this man that, well, everybody in South Kerry knew about him, but Wishy made this guy a superstar, and we'll fill you in on that story as well after the break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with Meadowlands Hotel Tralee, where being local means coming home.
Now you're very welcome back to Terrace Talk with Donald Barry. Notes from Uisce Éireann and Kerry County Council for Barlymount. There will be overnight restrictions to the water supply in the following areas: 2 Mile School, Haddo, Barlymount, Faha, and parts of Ballyhar and Milltown. And Uisce Éireann and Kerry County Council appreciate your patience in this matter. Tomas Griffin is with us. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of some cups and things that were awarded out there. And the Quill Cup Senior Men Track and Field, it's been circulating since 1954. And there's quite a great history to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's circulated since 1954, and what's interesting is the man that it's named after was a personal acquaintance of Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King, when Mr. Quill from Kilgarvan passed away, Martin Luther King said that he spent his life ripping the chains of bondage off his fellow man. This is a man the ages will remember. So it's great to see him remembered by Kerry Athletics. So this information was given to me by Con Dennehy, great journalist who has a massive passion for athletics and was in the process of writing a book, which he says is going to take another 4 years. So there's a lot.
Especially the way Con writes him, because he's so particular and everything has to be right, and a great chorus man as well. The Quill connection, of course. Yeah, absolutely. If you're in Kilgarvan Village and you drive out and you turn right, there's the Quill Memorial. You have all the information inside there.
Okay.
But yeah, fill us in.
So this man is famous for trade unionism. He led the biggest strike in New York, basically shut it down in 1966, where all the transportation people went on strike fighting for rights. nobody was left behind. So inclusivity was very important for this man, and that's why he's referenced by Martin Luther King. He just made sure that everybody, no matter what their race, their creed, their beliefs were included. So he gave this cup to a group in Kilgarvan that were hosting the Kerry Athletics Championships in Kilgarvan in 1954. It was originally the James Connolly Cup. So this man, when he led this strike that ended very positively for the workers in 1966, the stress of the strike basically caused this man to get very, very ill, and literally within days of the strike ending and the people in New York, the workers, getting what they deserved, this man passed away. So the cup, which was the James Connolly Cup, was renamed the Quill Cup in 1966 in the honour of the man that actually gave it. There's been fantastic team aspect to athletics, with clubs deciding they want to win this cup and gathering together. So that's where the team aspect comes in, and maybe the inclusivity message of Mr. Michael Quill kind of lives on in athletics
as well. As important today as it was then.
Absolutely, yeah. So very, very interesting cup. Massive history on it. Just loads of captains. So the most decorated captain would be the great Patsy O'Connor, a thrower. Patsy's a great Masters thrower now, but he was a great thrower back in his day as a senior athlete as well. So he's the most decorated captain that has won it with Tralee Harriers. Won it in 93, 2004, 2015, 2012 and 2018. So,
and he's not retiring.
He's still at it, yeah, but he was measuring a lot of throws now rather than competing in a lot of events. But it just shows you teams gathering themselves around winning a cup in what's supposedly an individual sport, but there's a team aspect to it. Yeah. This other thing that's sitting in front of us here, this is the Eamonn Fitzgerald Trophy, and that's what we mentioned. So that shield is presented to the winner of the under 20 triple jump every year in the Kerry Championship. So it started circulating in 1998. Eamonn Fitzgerald, as you said, from Castle Cove. He was an Olympian. 1932 Los Angeles Olympic Games, and he was fourth. We've mentioned the position of coming fourth there recently, right?
11 centimetres, and he was been third.
Absolutely, yeah. So triple jumping, so it's a hop, step and a jump. I think we mentioned in the previous show that event was actually originally an Irish drinking game. And it's now an international event where you have to do a hop, which is basically taking off from one foot and landing on that same foot. Then stepping, which is, taking off from one foot and then landing on the opposite leg, and then basically a long jump at the end of it. So 15 metres, that's 46 feet. What's interesting in looking at the names on this trophy was won by a lot of different people since 1998. The most recent guy is Darragh Looney from Killarney Valley. He's won it 3 times. But there's lots of other names popping up there from all the clubs that are represented. But it was never won by the most decorated triple jump champion in the country, who is also from Kerry, who is Dennis Finnegan. So Dennis Finnegan is with Riocht Athletics Club. Dennis is a 10 times national champion in the triple jump, but he never won this. So I think he just shows you he reinvented himself as a triple jumper, having been a hurdler. So that's a very interesting piece.
And of course, listeners tonight, of course, Eamonn Fitzgerald, if you can go back, I suppose loads of people will go up the road and they'll know John Joe Sheehy, of course, Austin Saxon, John Joe Landers, and I suppose Dee Connor, Kilcummin and Paul Russell out there for Dr. Crokes. That brings you back to 1930 and 31. He won 2 All-Ireland medals, and then he went off to the Olympics.
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing story.
The distance he jumped would be medaling him now in the national championship still. So 15 metres triple jump is massive. Yeah. So, without facilities, it's amazing. Like the athleticism he had must have been really
It's amazing because I have to jump here. He jumped 49 feet and 3 inches.
Yeah.
Sounds like a long way to jump, isn't it?
It's just, again, measure that out and try and do that in 3 steps is pretty amazing. So that athleticism being transferable into football, obviously.
Can I catch the Chris O'Shea Memorial Cup there quite quickly?
So yeah, Chris O'Shea Memorial Cup was presented to the overall women's team from the senior track and field championships, won by Listowel for the first time. So Chris was a vibrant lady from St. Brendan's AC who had a massive interest in youth. So she passed away young. This is the first year it was presented. So the cup was sponsored by her family, Listowel, who have a fantastic women's section. Won that. The Quill Cup won by Killarney Valley AC this year. Oh, there's other cups. The Mary Lucy Cup, very interesting. So Noel Lucy, another great man that played football for Kerry.
Oh yes.
So Noel Lucy, I think, has an All-Ireland medal. Noel passed away, I think 2 years ago. But Noel's wife, Mary Lucy, her maiden name was Shine. This cup is circulating since probably the 1980s. Given to the under 14 county champions 4x100 relay, quite simply because Noel and Mary had a family of daughters. And Noel's daughters were all heavily involved in athletics.
Wow. So
what a great way for the name and the memory to live on. That was won by Star of the Lown relay team this year, which was Alice Eager, Emma Casey, Larry Leahy O'Brien and Lauren McAvoy. So that's just some examples of the great cups that, again, teams can gather themselves around in what might be perceived to be an individual sport.
Fair play. My God. Yeah. I feel like we ran the marathon.
I know.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good God. That hour went quick. Listen, Tomas, thanks very much. Don't be a stranger. And if you keep gathering the news, we'll probably give you your own show the way you're going. Listen, thanks very much. And a big shout out to Condinhy too for helping out this evening as well. That was absolutely vital. Of course, Martin Fitzgerald was with us at the start of the conversation as well. And listen, the very best of luck to all the clubs and the athletes and all the various championships, the whole lot. And of course, the schools event is on Wednesday night in Killarney. Are you excited?
Yeah, we had a massive queue to get in last year, so we're kind of logistically trying to figure out now how do we manage it, but we promise
we need to build a bigger track.
Yes, a bigger track is needed.
Absolutely. No, hopefully you'll get the weather and it'll be a fantastic evening. Quick few comments before we finish up this evening. Kerry have not turned into a bad team overnight. It's time to stop trying the new system. As Jack mentioned in his interview, it's not working. Go back to basics. Katrina listening in Wicklow. Good evening, Katrina. Thank you very much. Hi, Donald. What about Mark Ryan in the middle of the field? Oh my God, how did we forget the Rathmore man? Oh my God, I have to bring the two boys back. He's on the training panel as well. Absolutely fantastic midfielder. Yeah, very good. Barry O'Sullivan should go to midfield. Also, we need to coach some of our fitness and speed, and again the players get no direction from our management on the sidelines. See the hurling managers yesterday, they were worked up. Yeah, they were very worked up, but hurling and football, I suppose, play the two different paces. Would you ever fancy doing a bit of fitness with the Kerry senior team?
I don't know, my energy is going into track and field athletics, so
your name out.
We can definitely make people faster anyway, there's no doubt about that.
Well, there you go. Well, you're after solving most problems, so if we can make people faster, because the whole thing this evening was that we were quite slow. Listen, thanks very much. Liam and John, of course, were with us at the start of the show. Martin Fitzgerald joined us there after 7. Tomas Griffin brought us through for the rest of the show. Up next.